young nurses who should be in the province today leave because of the last Liberal government's policy with respect to amalgamations.
Why do we think that we need 10 CEOs to run the district health authorities across this province?
It's great to say we should have more apprenticeships. I agree with that, except they have to be matched to a real job.
And you notice 2 of them weren't wearing ties today. 2 of them weren't wearing ties. Only McNeil had a tie on. All right. To our chief tie watcher, Bryn Weiss in Halifax. Bryn is wearing a tie, as am I. Thank you very much, sir. All right, listen, forget about the ties. It's radio after all, Bryn. Does radio make a difference? How was this debate different than the TV one yesterday?
Well, you know, David, tie or not, I think they all picked up where they left off from last night's debate, and through lots of today's matchup, you couldn't really hear them while they talked over each other. In particular, again, Jamie Bailey, the Progressive Conservative leader, and Stephen McNeil, the Liberal leader, were really going at it. And I think that indicates, David, that for those two parties, they see a lot of their successes riding on how much they can beat up the other guy. Let's watch a clip from the radio debate earlier today.
It's great to say we should have more apprenticeships. I agree with that, except they have to be matched to a real job. And to say that our taxes and our power rates aren't hurting jobs is to show how ignorant you are about how the economy really works.
That's not what I said, Jamie. But
well, why don't you do something about it? You're running for premier the same as me.
$800 million tax cut.
Hang on, Jamie. $800
million tax cut is not creating a job. It's driving that. You are.
We have a balanced plan where every dollar is accounted for. You offer nothing.
Hang on, guys. One at a time here, Jamie.
You have not told a single
hang on, Stephen, hang on.
Program you're going to do. And we've laid out a very balanced plan.
Hang on, Stephen, please.
Now, David, someone might have scored a knockout punch there, but of course we couldn't hear it, and I think that largely characterizes today's debate on the radio, and it proves again, I think, these three leaders don't really think much of each other. They certainly don't want to hear each other talk about their ideas. And once again, David, we're seeing Stephen McNeil come under fire, and again, that's because he's really the perceived front runner in this race. Darrell Dexter was attacking Stephen McNeil, and Jamie Bailey largely focused his attacks on Stephen McNeil. So that's 2 days in a row now. Stephen McNeil has had a big bullseye on his back, and I think generally he's going to be happy with his performance today coming out of the radio debate pretty much unscathed. I don't think this debate is going to change the dynamic of the campaign. I think ultimately the three leaders made their cases again, so long as we could hear what they were saying. And just to review, of course, Darrell Dexter is saying the other two parties are too big of a risk. The Progressive Conservatives are saying they're the only ones who can change the economic fortunes of Nova Scotia. And the Liberals are saying they've struck the right balance between both cuts and investments and are not going to be as big of a risk as the Progressive Conservatives or the NDP. David?
Yeah, I really like that clip you showed us of the three of them sort of there. They're all close together. You know, all you needed was pints of beer in front of each other, and that's the kind of debate I like to have on a Friday night in a pub about politics. But they're going at each other. There's no question about it. We asked Jordy Morgan yesterday about the personal relationship between the three. It was my impression that they really didn't hate each other. But now I'm not so sure about that. You're right. I get the sense they do know that in a few days, Nova Scotians are going to make a choice, and two of those guys are going to be pretty unhappy. And for Dexter, who knows about his political future? I mean, that really hasn't come up yet. Is Dexter seeing the end of his career in provincial politics?
Yeah, that's exactly right, David. For some of these leaders, they could be fighting for their political careers. We do have one more debate in this election campaign. It's going to be happening later this month. And of course, we'll be watching again for the kind of dynamic that those leaders might have. And I think it's also important to remember, David, all of the parties are really viewing these debates this week as the midway point in this campaign. They're sort of looking at now this final leg of the campaign, really trying to make the push now in terms of getting votes out, because voters can vote any day now, have been able to vote for the entire campaign. And I think we're going to be seeing now from these leaders maybe a bit more rallies, maybe a bit more trying to sell the fact that they have momentum behind them, because ultimately, as you mentioned, David, once the election happens, one of those leaders is going to be premier, and two of them are going to be branded perhaps losers, and some of them might not have jobs moving forward this fall.
All right, Bryn Weiss raising the siren on those debates there. Thank you so much, my friend. Talk to you in a little bit. Okay.